Hi, good morning, second graders. How are you? Today we are continuing with Abraham and his stories. And I think we talked about this story a long time ago as well. And it's talking about when Abraham and Sarah were very old. And as you remember, Abraham at the beginning had no kids. And then he had one kid with Hagar, if you remember her name. She was his mistress, and his name was Ishmael. But he didn't have any kids with Sarah, his wife. And if you remember the story, one day when he was sitting in his tent, three guests came down the desert. And when he saw them, Abraham was a really good man. So when he saw them, he said to them, "Oh my God, you're walking in the desert. The sun is strong. There's nothing to drink and eat. Come into my tent and I will get you rest and food and water." The three men indeed went into the tent. And Abraham called Sarah and told her, "Sarah, those three men are tired and they are walking in the desert for a long time. Please go make them some bread and give them something to drink." Now, in the page, it says cakes, but in the old days, when they said cakes, they also meant like a loaf of bread. And Sarah did. She prepared them, and those three guests were sitting in Abraham's tent and they were eating and drinking. Now, Abraham was already an old man and Sarah was almost 100 years old, the Bible says. And they were treating the guests nicely, and the guests, at some point after they rested and they eat and they drank, they stood up and they were ready to get on their way. Actually, they were going towards Sodom and Gomorrah, but that's a whole different story. And when the moment they were ready to leave, they said to Abram, "Abram, your hospitality was amazing. You treated us with dignity and respect, even though you didn't know us at all. And still, you welcomed us to your home, to your wife, and to your house. Know that you will have a son, because God promised you a son. And your wife will be pregnant and she'll have a son." Sarah, who was bringing food in and out and things like that, suddenly was behind, it's a tent, so there are curtains everywhere. So she was behind one of the curtains and she heard the guest saying that. And she looked at herself and she said, "This is not going to happen." She laughed. "I'm too old for that," but nice that they're saying that. And the three guests left. Later on, we discovered that they are angels of God, but then we didn't know that. So they're laughing. So she's laughing. A few months later, Sarah discovered that she's pregnant. And there was a boy born out from Abraham and Sarah. And this boy was named Yitzchak in Hebrew, Isaac in English. Yitzchak means laugh. I will laugh, because Sarah laughed at the idea of her getting any kids whatsoever. Yitzchak was the son of Abraham and Sarah, and he had some stories when he was young, and we will talk about these stories next time. Today, what I want you to do is to reread the story on page 28 and page 29. It's a short version of the story. And then open page 30 and do name the relative, match the columns. So you need to figure out who's Adam's wife, who's Noah's sons. It's a review from what we did before. And then we have complete the sentence. And the words are at the bottom. So you need to figure out the right word at the bottom. Like there's a complete and there are words over here. And you need to put the right word at the right line. Shouldn't take you long, it should take you really quick. And then we have like thinking. Why did Abraham welcome the three strangers out of nowhere? They're like, he didn't know them. And the answer is because Abraham was a good friend and neighbor to all people. He liked people and people liked him. He and Sarah always welcomed travelers who passed by the large tent, which was their home. If the travelers were hungry, food was given them. If they needed a bed to sleep, they were put up for the night. It's not, nowadays it's very hard to grasp it. Because nowadays you won't let some stranger that walks out in the streets of your house, you will be like, hey, come drink and eat, come sit with me. It's not working nowadays, but in the old days, it was part of who Abraham was. He was so special, this Abraham. It wasn't just the father of the Jewish nation. He was a good man. He was a special man. I think that's why God chose him to do whatever he does. So Abraham and Sarah were known for their kindness. When their guests thanked them for their hospitality, they would answer by saying that God was to be thanked, for it was the Lord who provides all of them. And then on page 31, we have Achnasat Orchim. That's the title. Achnasat Orchim means welcoming guests. So you are welcoming the guests. Wherever Abraham and Sarah lived, their home was always open to people in need. The rabbi says that Abraham's tent had 4 doors, one facing north, one east, one west, and one south. So travelers coming from any direction would always find the door to Abraham's tent, where they could rest, eat, and drink. The mitzvah of welcoming guests is called Hachnasat Orchim. Oreach means guest in Hebrew, and Lachnis means to put in. 3, there are many ways of performing the mitzvah of Hachnasat Orchim. Suppose a new kid moved into your neighborhood. How would you prefer the mitzvah of Achnasat Orchim? What will you do? How would you welcome the new kid that comes into your neighborhood? And then, how can your parents do it if there's a new neighbor coming into your neighborhood? And the last question is, if the newcomers were Jewish, how would the rabbi before perform the mitzvah of Achnasat Orchim? So in that question, it's the same. If they come to a church, how can the priest do Achnasat Orchim? What will he do for the first time? What will a rabbi, so it's the same thing. If they come to the church for the first time, or if they come to the synagogue for the first time, what can a rabbi or a priest or a pastor do to let them feel welcome? Please write your answers 1, 2, and 3 on this page. And this is our work for today. Our Abraham and the 3 guests. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to have a Zoom with everybody. It's going to be a Shabbat Zoom. I'm going to send you the information with today's blooms, and everything will be there. Bye. See you.